Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be cracking open Learn to Earn by Peter Lynch. It's all about, getting savvy with your money. And trust me, it's way more captivating than you might think.
What's kind of brilliant about Lynch's approach is that he takes the intimidation factor out of investing. He's like, hey, this isn't just for, Wall Street hotshots. You can do this too.
I love that. So we're diving into everything from capitalism's like a wild ride to investing basics.
Yeah.
Plus, we'll uncover those fascinating life cycles of companies, like how some explode onto the scene and others, well, not so much.
It's easy to forget that the story of American capitalism is intertwined with the history of America itself, and Learn to Earn really brings that to light.
Okay, let's unpack that. We're talking about centuries of history here. Where do we even start?
Well, think back to early America. It was a risky venture, and guess what fueled that risk? Investors. They were the backbone, putting their money into everything from royal charters to those early stock markets like the Dutch East India Company.
It's almost like the original crowdfunding campaign, right?
Mm-hmm.
People pooling their resources for a common goal. Except in this case, the goal was building a nation.
Exactly. Fast forward to the 1700s and America's independence. Entrepreneurship explodes onto the scene, and we see the birth of a revolutionary concept. Corporations.
Corporations. Revolutionary. What's so groundbreaking about that?
Well, think about it. Before corporations, businesses were often tied to individuals, but corporations changed the game. They could adapt, evolve, outlive their founders, and ride the waves of economic change. They were designed for resilience in a way that older business models just weren't.
It's like they cracked the code for longevity in the business world.
Absolutely. And as these corporations took root, they needed a system, a financial framework. Enter Alexander Hamilton, the architect of America's financial system.
Right.
His vision laid the groundwork for the economic powerhouse we know today.
Of course, we can't forget Adam Smith, the OG of free market thinking. His invisible hand concept really turned economic theory on its head.
Right. Smith argued that individual self-interest within a well-regulated market could actually lead to collective prosperity. It's a fascinating idea that has shaped economic policy for centuries.
So we've got this exciting mix of entrepreneurship, corporations, and groundbreaking economic ideas. But did this instantly translate into a booming stock market?
Not quite. The New York Stock Exchange in its early days was a bit of a slow burn. It wasn't until the rise of railroads in the 1800s that things really took off.
Railroads. Why were they such a game changer for the stock market?
Well, railroads were the hot new technology of their time. They connected vast distances, opened up new markets, and fueled an explosion of economic activity. Investors saw the potential for massive returns, and the stock market became the place to get in on the action.
It's fascinating how, innovation, like the railroads, can ignite investor interest and reshape entire industries. Speaking of innovation, Learn to Earn touches upon this concept of company towns.
Ah, yes. Company towns like Pullman, where the company controlled not only the workplace, but housing, shops, and even the social lives of their employees. It's a complex example of how deeply intertwined a company's success could be with the community it operated in.
It's a reminder that a company's impact extends far beyond its balance sheets.
Precisely. And as America moved into the 20th century, things started to shift again. Mass production took center stage, giving rise to those national brands we know today. Think Nabisco, Heinz, companies that revolutionize how we consume everyday goods.
So these seemingly ordinary brands were once the disruptors, the innovators of their time.
Right.
It makes you wonder what the, Nabiscos of today will be in another 100 years.
Absolutely. And with this rapid industrial growth, we see the emergence of some larger-than-life figures, the so-called robber barons. These individuals amassed immense wealth, often through practices that, shall we say, push the boundaries of ethical business practices.
Right, figures like Rockefeller and Carnegie.
Yeah.
They built empires, but their methods often came at a cost, leading to public outcry and calls for regulation.
Exactly. Learn to Earn highlights that even within a capitalist system, unchecked power can be detrimental. Hence the rise of antitrust laws, designed to promote fair competition and protect consumers from monopolies.
It's a constant balancing act, isn't it? Encouraging innovation and economic growth while also safeguarding against unchecked corporate power.
It is. And as we move further into the 20th century, we can't overlook the creation of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Charles Henry Dow, a financial journalist, devised this index as a way to track stock market performance.
Okay.
What started as a simple tool became a benchmark that still influences investors today. It's like the heartbeat of the market.
But even with this growing awareness of the stock market, was the average American rushing to invest?
Not necessarily. Lynch points out that even after the devastating lessons of the Great Depression, many people remained cautious about stocks. It took time for that trust and confidence to rebuild.
So what changed the game and brought more people into the world of investing?
Well, a combination of factors. The post-World War II era ushered in a booming economy with rising incomes and a sense of optimism. Regulatory bodies like the SEC were established to create transparency and protect investors. And perhaps most importantly, the profile of the typical shareholder started to change.
So investing was no longer just for the wealthy elite. It was becoming accessible to a wider range of Americans.
Exactly. And that brings us to the heart of Learn to Earn. Lynch is a firm believer that investing is a powerful tool for anyone, regardless of their background, to build financial security.
Okay, I'm ready to dive into the practical side of things.
Yeah.
In part 2, we'll explore Lynch's advice on how to get started with investing, even if you're a complete beginner.
Yes.
Get ready to unlock the secrets of saving, compounding, and those 5 basic investment options.
I think you'll be surprised by how approachable and even exciting investing can be when you have the right guidance. Stay tuned, we're just getting started.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Learn to Earn. In part 1, we kind of journeyed through that fascinating history of capitalism. Now let's roll up our sleeves and explore Lynch's insights on the basics of investing.
You know, understanding the past is enlightening, but knowing how to make your money work for you today, that's truly empowering.
Exactly. Lynch is a huge advocate for starting early, even if you're just starting out and, living at home.
Yeah.
He says those early years can be a golden opportunity to build a solid financial foundation.
He's absolutely right. Think about it. Lower expenses, more disposable income. It's the perfect time to harness the power of compounding, where your money essentially makes money on itself.
I've heard that compounding is like magic, but to be honest, I don't fully grasp it. What's the best way to explain it?
Imagine a snowball rolling down a hill.
Okay.
It starts small, but as it gathers more snow, it grows exponentially. Compounding is similar. The earlier you start investing, even small amounts, the more time your money has to grow and accumulate.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like giving your money a head start in the race to financial freedom.
Precisely. And Lynch debunks the myth of the lazy younger generation. He points out that many young adults today are making savvy financial choices, often returning home to save and invest for the future.
So they're not just avocado toast enthusiasts. They're thinking long-term and playing the financial game strategically.
Absolutely. They're delaying gratification, building their nest egg, and setting themselves up for greater financial independence down the road.
All right, so we're convinced that starting early is key. Now let's get down to brass tacks. Where can people actually put their money?
Well, Learn to Earn breaks down 5 basic investment options: savings accounts, collectibles, real estate, bonds, and stocks.
Okay, let's start with the familiar one. Savings accounts seem pretty straightforward.
They are. They offer safety and easy access to your funds. However, the returns are typically low, often struggling to keep pace with inflation.
So not the best option for, long-term growth. What about something a little more exciting like collectibles?
Collectibles can be tempting, but they're also inherently risky. The value of antiques, art, or other collectibles fluctuates based on, trends, tastes, and condition. It's not a guaranteed path to wealth.
It sounds like it takes a discerning eye and a bit of luck to strike gold with collectibles.
Exactly. Now, real estate often feels like a solid choice, especially in a growing market.
Yeah, people always say they're not making more land.
That's true. And historically, real estate tends to appreciate in value. Plus, you have the tangible benefit of, a place to live. However, it's a substantial investment requiring a down payment, mortgage payments, property taxes, and ongoing maintenance.
It's definitely not as liquid as other investment options.
Yeah.
You can't just sell a house overnight.
Right. Now, bonds offer fixed income, which can be appealing for those seeking stability and predictable returns. However, they are also susceptible to inflation. If inflation rises faster than the bond's interest rate, your purchasing power can actually decrease.
So bonds offer security, but might not outpace inflation in the long run. That leaves us with stocks. What makes them stand out in the investment landscape?
Well, historically, stocks have proven to be the most rewarding long-term investment. Lynch points out that, on average, they double in value every 7-8 years. Of course, there's risk involved, But over the long haul, stocks have consistently outperformed other investment options.
That's a compelling case for considering stocks. But for someone new to investing, it can feel overwhelming. Where do you even begin?
Lynch suggests mutual funds is a great starting point for many investors. They offer a way to diversify your investments and benefit from professional management.
Mutual funds, I've heard that term thrown around. Can you break it down for us?
Imagine pooling your money with other investors to buy a basket of stocks. That's essentially what a mutual fund does. It allows you to spread your risk across various companies and sectors. It's like having a team of experts managing your investments.
So you're not betting everything on a single company or industry. That makes sense, especially for someone just starting out. But what if you want more control and decide to invest in individual stocks?
That's certainly an option. Investing in individual stocks can be more rewarding, but also requires more research, due diligence, and an understanding of market dynamics. You need to be comfortable analyzing financial statements, tracking market trends, and evaluating company performance.
It sounds like individual stock picking is for those who enjoy doing their homework and have a higher risk tolerance.
That's generally true. However, even beginners can learn the ropes. The key is to start small, do your research, and gradually gain experience.
So education is key, no matter which path you choose. But how do you actually buy and sell stocks? Where do brokerage firms come in?
Brokerage firms act as intermediaries between buyers and sellers in the stock market.
Okay.
They provide the platform for trading stocks, along with tools and resources for research and analysis.
So it's like having a digital marketplace where you can buy and sell shares of companies.
Exactly, and Lynch encourages readers to familiarize themselves with the mechanics of the market. Learn to read stock prices, understand financial news, and explore those performance indicators.
It sounds like it's all about taking an active approach, educating yourself, and not just blindly following the crowd.
Precisely. The more you understand, the more confident and informed your investment decisions will be.
All right, so far we've tackled saving, explored different investment options, and even dipped our toes into the workings of the stock market. What's next in our Learn to Earn journey?
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into Learn to Earn. We've covered the history of capitalism, explored the basics of investing, and now we're about to uncover the fascinating journey of a company from its humble beginnings as a startup to its potential rise as a global giant.
What I find so inspiring about this section is that it really emphasizes the power of an idea. You don't need a fancy degree or a trust fund to build something remarkable. Learn to Earn is packed with examples of companies that started from scratch and grew into these massive billion-dollar empires. Lynch even makes this bold statement that many of those billion-dollar businesses were launched by people without any formal education. He uses Apple and The Body Shop as prime examples. It's a great reminder that innovation can come from anywhere.
It's so true. Passion and a great idea can be sometimes more valuable than an MBA.
Speaking of passion and great ideas, let's talk about Apple. It's hard to picture them as anything other than a tech behemoth today, but their origin story is pure startup legend.
Right. Two college dropouts, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, tinkering away in a garage, fueled by their vision for the future of personal computing. They even sold some of their prized possessions to raise the initial capital. Talk about commitment.
That's putting your money where your mouth is. Literally. It clearly paid off for them, but not every startup has that, meteoric rise.
What does Learn to Earn say about those different stages of funding that a company might go through?
Well, in the beginning, it's often bootstrapping, relying on personal savings or loans from family and friends.
Then, as the company starts to gain traction and show promise, they might seek out angel investors, individuals who specialize in providing early-stage capital.
And if they need even more funding to really, scale up.
That's when venture capitalists might enter the picture. These are firms that invest in high-growth companies, looking for those potential unicorns that could disrupt industries and generate massive returns.
But venture capital isn't just free money, right? It comes with expectations.
Absolutely. Venture capitalists typically take an equity stake in the company, which means the founders give up a portion of their ownership in exchange for the funding. It's a trade-off many entrepreneurs are willing to make for the chance to grow their business exponentially.
And then, of course, there's the ultimate goal for many startups. Going public. What's involved in that process?
Going public, also known as an IPO or initial public offering, is essentially offering shares of the company to the public for the first time. It's a way to raise significant capital, but it's also a complex process with a lot of regulatory hurdles.
So it's like leveling up in the business world, but it comes with a whole new set of rules and responsibility.
Exactly. But even going public is just one milestone in a company's journey. Learn to earn emphasizes that companies, much like people, go through different phases of growth.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are these phases, and how can understanding them help investors?
Well, think of it like this. You have young companies bursting with energy and ideas, but often lacking experience. They're agile and innovative, but they might also stumble along the way.
It's like that saying, you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
Right. Then you have middle-aged companies, more established, having learned from their wins and losses. They're often in a stable growth phase, but they also face new challenges like competition from those hungry young startups or the need to adapt to shifting market trends.
And what about those older companies, the ones that have been around for decades?
They might struggle to remain relevant in a rapidly changing world. Some manage to reinvent themselves, embrace new technologies, and stay ahead of the curve. Others, unfortunately, fade away. It's the natural cycle of business.
So, as an investor, it's not just about finding a good company, it's about understanding where they are in their life cycle and assessing their potential for future growth.
Exactly. But a company's fate isn't solely determined by its internal dynamics. Learn to Earn also highlights the influence of external factors, like the economy, on a company's performance.
Right. Even the best-run business can be impacted by things like inflation, interest rates, or a sudden economic downturn.
Absolutely. Lynch talks about those hot, cold, and warm economic climates, each presenting unique challenges and opportunities for businesses. He also introduces those classic metaphors of bull and bear markets to describe those natural fluctuations in the stock market.
Can you remind our listeners about the difference between a bull and a bear market?
Think of a bull market as a time of optimism and rise in stock prices. It's like a party where everyone wants to invest and share prices are climbing. A bear market, on the other hand, is characterized by falling prices and a general sense of pessimism. Investors are more cautious, and the overall mood is a bit gloomy.
So it's like the market has its own moods, and investors need to learn how to ride those waves.
Exactly. And Lynch emphasizes the importance of patience and a long-term perspective. Don't panic and sell your stocks just because the market is having a temporary dip. If you've invested in solid companies with strong fundamentals, they'll likely weather the storm and come out stronger on the other side.
That's a good reminder for any investor, especially those new to the game. Speaking of investors, let's shift gears and talk about the individuals behind these companies, the ones who drive innovation and create wealth. What does Learn to Earn tell us about them?
This is where things get really interesting. Lynch points out a fascinating trend. The Forbes annual list of the 400 richest Americans has seen a dramatic shift from those old money families to self-made entrepreneurs. The landscape of wealth in America is changing.
So it's no longer just about inheritance. It's about ingenuity, hard work, and a willingness to take risks.
Exactly. America still offers incredible opportunities for those with the drive and vision to create something new. Learn to Earn highlights the stories of some familiar names, like Warren Buffett, whose disciplined, long-term approach to investing has made him a legend.
Buffett is the epitome of the patient investor, the one who focuses on value and isn't swayed by those short-term market fluctuations.
He's a master at identifying those undervalued companies with strong potential. And then there are those self-made billionaires who started with very little and followed their passions to achieve remarkable success. Lynch shares the stories of Bill Gates and Paul Allen, the founders of Microsoft, Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield of Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream, the founders of Home Depot, Ray Kroc, who built McDonald's into a global fast food empire, and David Geffen, the entertainment mogul behind DreamWorks.
What's striking about those examples is that they come from such diverse backgrounds and industries. They're proof that innovation can blossom anywhere.
Right. And the bar for entry into the Forbes 400 keeps getting higher. The minimum net worth required to make the list has skyrocketed, reflecting the growing concentration of wealth in America.
But despite all this talk of billions, Lynch is quick to point out that not all wealthy individuals live these extravagant lifestyles. Many live relatively modestly, prioritizing their work and passions over, flashy displays of wealth.
It's a refreshing perspective. It's not always about private jets and yachts. It's about pursuing your dreams and making a difference.
And finally, Learn to Earn treats us to those captivating origin stories of iconic brands. We learn how Coca-Cola transformed from this humble beverage to a global icon, how Wrigley's shifted from soap to the world's most popular chewing gum, how Campbell's Soup revolutionized convenience food with its condensed soup, and how Levi Strauss struck gold during the gold rush era with his durable denim pants.
Those stories are a fantastic reminder that even the most successful companies started from humble beginnings. It's all about identifying a need, innovating, and adapting to the changing market.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Learn to Earn, what's the biggest takeaway for our listeners today?
Whether you're dreaming of launching the next big startup or simply starting your investing journey, remember this. Understanding the principles of finance, the life cycles of companies, and the power of innovation can empower you to make smarter decisions and reach your financial goals.
Peter Lynch's Learn to Earn is a valuable resource for anyone who wants to, demystify the world of finance and investing. And remember, knowledge is power. The more you learn, the more confident you'll become in navigating the exciting and ever-evolving world of money. Happy investing.